All right, it's Thursday, April 18th. This is an end of the day SPY recap, and today we end up with another red two down bar. Takes out the low of the previous day, holds the midpoint of the previous day, and closes red for the fifth day in a row to the downside. So we know the context is to the downside. The weekly chart here is red and heading lower, and now with 1 day to go in the week, it looks like whatever happens tomorrow, this will close pretty much strongly red, which will lead to expectations for a follow through to some extent lower into next week. Monthly chart, still is coming down into this gap in here, and we'll see what happens towards the end of the month. I don't see anything that's really looks like it's going to turn this month into any kind of an up green month at this point, so we'll just have to see how red it is by the end of the month to know whether the next month might continue lower. It's a little ways off, but the weekly chart we could certainly anticipate now with 1 day to go that we'll probably be testing lower, and there's a whole pivot machine gun here, so at this point I'm just waiting for that this chart to really turn up to give me any signs to feel comfortable to the buy side. Now, that doesn't mean there might be some, short-term opportunities given that you're at exhaustion risk to the downside. There was no actionable signal coming into today. It's just kind of continuation to the downside. Any up movement is against the big picture trend. So you just kind of have to judge 15-minute price action in that context. And it was very clear today what unfolded. So today you had an opportunity, the pre-market range between the blue lines. First bar came down, took out the pre-market low. Inside bar 2, bar 3 is your buy, and that buy anticipated you were going to take out the first bar high and the pre-market high. That's kind of what you're judging, and it did that. And that actually ended up being a decent morning trade, not only for the SPY but for a bunch of stocks, which I'll show you in a second. And I actually traded, given this kind of opening price action, kind of against the big picture trend, but knowing that the market wanted to have a little bit of a move up, before maybe hitting liquidity before turning lower. I kind of traded all morning. 3 stocks that kind of unfolded here. Let me just kind of pull up what I was generally doing. My trades for the day essentially were NVIDIA, Coinbase, and Meta to the upside. And you can see here I kind of exited everything, bought it early in the session. I exited everything, pretty, for that morning move, and that was it. So as it turns out, all these stocks, if I look at them here, Coinbase, that moved up nicely in the morning for a nice trade. Meta moved up nicely for a nice trade and reversed, and NVIDIA moved up nicely and then it reversed. So, I took advantage, and that's what I do with my methodology. I'm generally looking for that morning move, and I know this one is against the, the overall trend. Price is just coming up to the midpoint of that red bar, and that's why I exited. Sometimes I exit early and it goes, further my way and I miss out on gains. Other times, like today, it prevents me, from breaking even or giving up some gains, and it becomes a good short-term trade. But the logic here was that, you're just kind of going against the trend to the upside into the midpoint of that bar. What happened was, and I kind of left for the day at that point, when I take my gains, I just, I don't get greedy and continue trading. But what happened in terms of the SPY is once it came down here and had its orderly pullback after hitting its target, then you kind of anticipated it could make a second push up on the day, maybe in more, higher up into that red bar range from yesterday, somewhere up in here. But instead, it came down, paused, and then this red bar right here, when it had an opportunity after about an hour and a half to start back up again, started red, back into the first bar range. To me, that's a signal that you're going to probably go back and test those lows given the continuities in play. And you have a downward trend that wanted to take out liquidity first. And that bar, in effect, definitely came down and just took out those lows and then chopped around for the rest of the day. So 2 trades today on the SPY. If you look at that index on your own, just a good buy here for a target. And then given the context of, not getting the 2 pushes up, you could have taken a short trade there to take out the low. So, even on this type of a day, with exhaustion risk to the downside, there are still opportunities in this case both ways. So we'll see how the week ends up. Tomorrow, we're still at exhaustion risk. There's no same thing tomorrow. No actionable signal in terms of strat, concepts or anything like that. Maybe we start above the midpoint of today and head up a little bit, and then you can expect to broaden above these 2 bar highs. That's a possibility. Or we can just go down for 5 days in a row and turn this red. Either way, I think you're going to end up with a red week that will likely follow through into next week. So that's kind of trading today, and we will see what unfolds on Friday, last day of the week tomorrow.